Very, very excited for Libby Simon, who is our second guest. First of all, Libby, how are you doing today?
Good. You mentioned earlier you hadn't had coffee. This is my second cup, so things are moving right along. Glad to be here.
I got up this morning. It was so cute. My daughter, I was talking about this event and how we've got a lot of people coming on, and she's like, well, can I make, she's 9 and she's really taking an interest in cooking. She's like, can I make your coffee and breakfast for you? And I'm like, sure. And I'm running around the house trying to get things set up. And she made my coffee and I helped her out with it, microwaving and stuff. And then she made me a bowl of oatmeal. It was so sweet. So we've got a supportive family here in the Meller household.
She contributed to your day. That's perfect.
Yes, and she might make a little appearance here at some point. So we're going to shift gears here, and I'm going to have Libby introduce herself in just a minute. If you guys are just joining, you're just watching, and you missed the first segment, there's a way to get the playback links to all of these. I'm going to share that with you in a little while here. But what I'd like to do is just kick off our second segment. And this whole day is about how, I'm trying to pull in together speakers and topics that can help you if you're in career transition. And that might mean you're unemployed, you're underemployed. Maybe you've been recently laid off because of COVID. Maybe you've been off for a while, even before COVID. Maybe you're finding yourself in a situation where, gosh, you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, right? And maybe you're over the age of 30 and you're kind of feeling like, did I miss what I was supposed to do? And did I miss that door that I could have gone through to make a change? And I don't know what I want to do. We were talking in the last segment about moving from a job that you do to a job that you love. And this is probably an extension of that topic. So Libby's going to be sharing with us some career strategies if you're over the age of 30 and in career transition or thinking about making a move. So really excited for this chat here today. And Libby, why don't you start by, giving us a little bit of an overview. Who are you? What's your business all about? And then we'll jump into that conversation.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Brenda. So I'm Libby. As Brenda said, I own Clearview Coaching and Consulting. And the name Clearview is really symbolic of what I wanted to do with my company. When you are thinking about a career, you say, I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 50, I don't know what I want to be. It can feel very fuzzy. And that's what I've found with so many of my clients is they're in that mid stage in their career. So when you're 20 and you're just graduating high school or college or trade school, you think, oh, it's normal not to be quite sure what I want to do. But by the time you get to your 30s and beyond, you start to feel that sense of, I should have this figured out by now. And you would be surprised at how many people do not. And so those are the folks that I work with my company. I have a background in HR. I worked in healthcare, then I worked in financial services. And so seeing people in those different industries at different stages in their career, it just became really apparent to me what I wanted to do for folks. And on average, people work about 90,000 hours in their lifetime. Yeah, that's a lot of hours. And if you think of how much time you spend at work during the day, most of your waking hours are at work. And when you're unhappy in that role, when you feel unfulfilled, you feel trapped, you feel like you're not doing what you were made to do, that spills over into every single aspect of your life, your personal relationships, your family, your health. You don't sleep well at night. It touches everything. And so figuring that out and giving yourself the grace and the space to do that is really important. And that's where I come in. We get that clarity, like Pat was talking about, knowing your strengths, getting clarity. That's so good. I'm really happy to be following her because that is so key. And we sometimes don't do that. So I work with my clients to do that, to get that strategy, to enable them to be in the role that they want to be in, and then to do it with confidence because at 30 and beyond, you have so many skills that you bring to an employer, to a company, to a market that you might not have when you're younger. So it's really an advantage, even though sometimes people don't always feel that way.
Yeah. And it's like we were talking about when you're over 30, you have gained a lot of skills at this point in your career, but
Absolutely.
you also might feel like, I have those skills, but I don't really like doing them. I'm good at them, but it's not fulfilling for me. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you right now, Libby, and I'm just going to have you lead the discussion. I'll come back in at Q&A at the end here, but we're going to just, I really just want you to give career strategies. There's people that are watching that are over 30 and they might be 31 and they might be 51 and they might be 71. They might be at different phases in their career. So what advice do you have for them on kind of navigating their career to find something that they do love doing?
That's perfect. I will share my screen if that will work.
Yeah,
I'm a visual learner, so having things written down that I can see is really helpful, and I wanted to provide that too. So let's see here, just one second.
And while she's doing that, guys, I'm going to continue to pull up your comments periodically. So if you want to drop a comment, if there's a speaker that you like, that you want to, kind of share comments on the thoughts that they've given you, feel free to do that. And there you go. I think the screen share is working now. So go right ahead, Libby.
Okay. If it ever cuts out, let me know and we'll just do it verbally, but hopefully this will help some folks. So 5 steps to getting that career clarity. And the first one I want to share is really your mindset. So before you do anything, before you start on any path at all, realize that you are not starting over. So many people come to me and say, oh, I don't want to start. I don't want to be at the bottom of the totem pole. I can't do this. I don't want to start over. I'm going to lose everything I've worked for. No, you're not. You are starting differently. You are not starting over. You have so many skills, like we were just talking about, that you bring to your role. Even if you're changing industries, you're bringing things with you. You're not starting fresh. And so it helps to center yourself around that, because if you're not confident in what you bring and the value that you bring to a company, that's going to show. That's going to show in not applying for jobs that you would be great at. It's going to show in interviews. It's going to show as you get into those roles. And so taking a moment and letting it sink in that I have something to offer here, and I am going to do this. I have something that companies need, and I'm bringing with me so many things of value. That's my first thing. And I know people, mindset seems kind of woo-woo for some folks, but it's really key to know your worth before you even start. So you're not starting over, you're starting differently, really changing that mindset of I'm starting fresh and I don't know anything. And the second step would be to look to the past. So if you don't know where you've come from, it's going to be hard to know where you are and where you want to be. And so what I suggest, think about what has and hasn't worked in roles you've been in. So even if a role, you didn't like it, or it wasn't in the industry you're in now or an industry you're interested in, grab a piece of paper or the notes app on your phone or a bar napkin. I don't care what it is, but jot down, okay, when I think about that job, what is it that worked for me? And if your initial thought is nothing worked, it was terrible, check that thinking and try to come up with, okay, what about the team? Did I like the team? Did I like the work environment? Make a list of all the things that have worked for you. Were you able to have stretch assignments? And then also think about what didn't work. Was there a lack of growth opportunity? Was the commute too long? Was your boss a micromanager? And then the middle line there, you see the why. I really encourage you to spend some time thinking about why those things did and didn't work. So if you say, oh, my boss was a jerk, that's why it didn't work. Well, why was your boss a jerk? Because a jerky boss to me is different than a jerky boss to you. If your boss never gave you feedback and that's something that's really important to you, and that's why you feel like they weren't a great leader, jot that down, because the more you know about where you've been and what's worked and what hasn't worked for you, the more aware and intentional you can be as you go forward. The tagline on my business card, remember when we actually used to give those out to people, says create your life intentionally. And that's something I really strive for, is because no one will do this for you. Or let me retract that. People will do it for you, but it won't be the way you want it to be. No one will create your life the way you want it to be for you. And so you need to be intentional about that. And one of those things is thinking about what's not been working and what has been working. And then once you get your list, think about what commonalities or what themes do I see here? If growth is showing up a lot, or if being micromanaged, or if a long commute, what themes are you seeing that you can start to zero in on and look to as you look for new roles, as you interview for new roles? You're going to be much more effective in the job search process when you know what you're looking for, instead of just some scattershot of, oh, this seems good, this seems good, this seems good. Because we tend to go with what we know. And you're unhappy in your role right now for a reason. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But it will be easy to fall into or to be pulled toward that type of role in the future, unless you're very aware of what you're looking for and what you want and don't want. Okay, so you look to the past, you spend some time there. And I will say also, this isn't a 2-minute I'm just going to do this in between meetings or on my coffee break. Actually take some time with some of this stuff because it can help you to give your brain space to think about these things. So you've looked to the past. Now you want to think about what's going on right now. So what do you want now? If you're in your 30s and beyond, you're likely at a much different life stage than you were when you were 20. Maybe you have a family now. Maybe you're looking to make more money in a role. You have that experience already. Whatever it may be, think about what you want right now, what you want for development opportunities, what you want for a commute, what you want for salary. What is important to you right now? Pat mentioned one of her colleagues was looking for less demanding work situation, and that's okay too. So I always say to my clients, don't apologize for what you want or what your needs are. If you want that less stress, less demand, less time at work, really step into that and own that. That's okay. There are people that want different things, and you don't have to want what everybody wants. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm in my 30s, I'm in my 40s. I really still need to be hard charging to get up the promotion, to get to that CEO spot, whatever it might look like. If that's not for you, that's not for you, and it's okay. So giving yourself grace and permission to own what you want right now is the first step. So you can be clear on that as you go forward. And then Pat also talked about strengths. So considering your strengths and interests, what are you good at? What do you like doing? Because these can be really different things. You could be very good at working with numbers and not like it. For example, in one of my HR roles, I was really good at writing policies. Now, do I want to write policies for the rest of my life? No. So I have that on my strengths column. But when I think about it, just like we did with the past, when you think about why something did or didn't work, think about why something is a strength or an interest. So the policy writing, for example, why was I good at that? I have good attention to detail. I'm good with words. I connect well with stakeholders to consider their perspectives, all those things. And so instead of just having policy writing as your strength, your list is going to have policy writing and then things underneath it that will allow you to start to see, this is my whole skill set and tool set that I bring to a role. So you can be looking for roles that draw on that attention to detail, that stakeholder connection, those kinds of things. Hope this is resonating with folks. And then thinking about your interests. What do you love to do? And how do those two things fill a need for the market? And that's really important because I'm a very practical person. You could say, I just want to be an underwater basket weaver. That's great. But if there's not a market for baskets that are weaved underwater, it's going to be hard to pay the bills. And I want you to be able to pay the bills, as I'm sure you want to be able to do as well. And so thinking about where your strengths and your interests marry up to fill a need. Well, how do I know what the needs are? You may be asking. And in the freebie that will be sent out afterward, I have some other questions that'll help you sort these things out. But look around you. See what are people talking about? Check social media. Obviously with a grain of salt because we know how social media can go. Check news channels, check industry publications, go to meetings in your community. So for example, a woman in my area, she saw that students in the local schools, they get meals during the day at school, but on the weekends, they don't have those school provided meals. And some of the families were not able to afford food for the weekends. So she, using her skill set and her passions, she started a nonprofit to create packages of meals that these students were able to take home on the weekends. And they would just put them in their backpacks discreetly. And then they had this food for the weekend. So she just had her eyes and ears open at community events and saw, this is a need. And it spoke to her. And so she acted on that. Now, am I saying you need to go start a nonprofit? No. But what I'm saying is, just listen and look around for the needs that your strengths and interests can fill. And then moving right along, there's just 5 steps. So we're on the home stretch here. Play devil's advocate. This cute little devil here, I didn't want it to be a scary face devil because it's not a bad thing. When you think about industries or roles that haven't worked, you might just be tempted to write them off. I challenge you, and I want you to challenge yourself to think about those things again. So for example, I mentioned I worked in healthcare. Now, You would not want me having anything to do with your care if it involved blood, guts, or bodily fluid. I do not have the stomach for that. It is not my thing. I know that about myself. However, if I had said, ugh, I hate that part of healthcare, I'm not going to even think about healthcare as an industry, I would have lost out on one of the most fulfilling roles that I had, caring for those that cared for others. So I was on the non-clinical side in healthcare, and it was amazing. And I think about it still to this day. So challenge yourself to look at things you might have already written off and say, what other options are there in that industry or role that may work for me? And why might those things work? You may have to poke around on LinkedIn and type in healthcare and see what other roles come up, because you don't know what you don't know, right? But you can find those things out. You can figure it out. And you may come across a gem that you would have otherwise written off. So I encourage you, as you're thinking about where you've been in your 20s, your 30s, think about what worked, what didn't, what else? How can I look at that situation a little bit differently? And that can be really helpful for you to get started on another path. And then last but not least, take action. So you're going to get so many great resources today, and so many people are going to have things that are coming at you, and you'll feel encouraged and pumped after this. I want to challenge you to think of one thing that you're going to do right now or this week after today to make the career progress that you want. Who are you going to talk to? Who are you going to have support you and help hold you accountable? How are you going to maintain that momentum? And think carefully about that person, because not everybody in your life is going to encourage you to pursue what you want to pursue and to pursue what you're feeling called to do. So think carefully about who that is, someone that will support you, and think about what's best for you, not what's best for them. So action, action, action. That's so key in thinking about what you want to do. So all this great info that you're going to hear today doesn't just stop here. It keeps going, and you have that momentum to make the difference that you want. So in quick summary, check your mindset. You're not starting over. You're starting differently. You're going to look to the past, what worked and what didn't. Think about what you want right now. It's probably different than what you wanted in your 20s, and that's okay. You do not have to apologize or explain any interests that you have now or any desires that you have now. And then challenge yourself. Play that devil's advocate. Think differently about where you've been and where you could be. And lastly, take action and be intentional. Be intentional about the life that you are creating for yourself, because you have so many amazing things to deliver. And this is your time. You are here today for a reason. And it's so exciting, all the things you'll be able to do after today.
Libby, I absolutely love this presentation. I love how you kind of broke it into, 5 steps for us, and it makes it really easy as you're watching, because there's so much information we're going to be getting here today and throughout the day. So I've been seeing a lot of comments coming in from folks, and I want to encourage you guys. This is our Q&A. So we're talking here. If you're joining us late, we're talking about, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, career strategies after 30, and Libby's already given us a lot of great tips there. And what I'd like to do is move this into some Q&A and see what questions you guys have and what feedback you have. And I'm seeing a lot of comments, people just saying, loving, inspiration. They're getting out of here. Excellent presentation. This person just commenting saying, every action matters.
Yes.
No matter how small, right, Libby?
Yes, it does.
So I want to see if you guys have any questions. I'm scrolling through, and the chat is kind of blowing up right now. So as I'm finding a question, it kind of shifts. And just so you're aware, Libby, we've got about 260 people watching us live on LinkedIn, about 40 on YouTube, and I think another 20 or so on Facebook. So I'm going throughout. Yes. So I've had a few people ask the question, Libby, about copy of the presentation. Is that something you're able to share with people? Should they connect with you to request that, or what's your preference there?
That is perfect. I'm happy to send that over. Brenda will share my contact information. I don't know if it's been scrolling by while we've been talking.
Yeah.
Feel free. Oh, it was covered up. Oh, sorry about that, Maggie. My website is clearviewcc.org. So Clearview Coaching Consulting, but just cc.org. Okay. I'm active on LinkedIn. If you want to shoot me a message there, I'm happy to send you what I just showed today. And Brenda will also link to a freebie that is going to help you dig further into some of the points that we talked about too. So get in touch with me wherever you can find me, website, LinkedIn, and we will connect. Happy to support.
So I'm actually going to pull up, it's taken a second here in the background to pull up your website, but let me just pull this up right now. And is the freebie something that's going to be on your website, Libby, or is it something that you're going to be sending us a link to? Tell us about that.
So there's different things you can get on my website. The one specifically for today is not listed there right now. I can put it there. It's not there. It's an ideal career worksheet series. And so it talks you through digging into some of those components that we talked about today. And that will be in, as far as I know, the follow-up information for me in this presentation today. But if you don't see it or you want it right this second, message me on LinkedIn and I am happy to help because I'm going to be tuning into the rest of the great presenters that are coming. So yes, I would love to be in touch with anybody that has questions.
Great. So there, I put her website up on the screen. I put her information on there as well. And then I want to show folks your LinkedIn URL here as well. So I'm just navigating. I'm kind of doing piloting and co-piloting, you guys. And I may have my teenage son come in and help me at some point. His bedroom is right above mine. And he said he was going to set his alarm for 10 o'clock. And it's 10:52 and I have not heard any movement from him yet. So no promises that he'll be coming out. But, you know, maybe I'll get an assist at some point.
Oh, the days of sleeping until 10 o'clock. I remember that.
I can't imagine. I feel like when I get to even like this morning, I think it was about 8:30, 8:45. And my husband's like, are you getting up? I'm like, yeah, I can't sleep in like teenagers. You got to appreciate that.
It is true.
So I'm pulling up your LinkedIn URL up on screen as well right now, Libby. Are you open to accepting connections from people if they're watching?
Absolutely. I love supporting my network, seeing what you post, just having that knowledge share back and forth. And it does say I help professional women. I also work with male clients as well. So don't think, oh, I have a question, I can't reach out to you. I work primarily with women, but I also work with men as well to really help you get to that spot that lights you up again.
Okay, great. And I'm just going to see if we have maybe one or two more questions, and then we're going to get our next panel started at 11. So things are moving pretty smoothly here, I think. Let's see. And Maggie Walsh, by the way, it's so nice to see your name. I haven't seen you for a while. I'd love to catch up, see how you're doing. I just want to see if anyone else has any additional questions for Libby. So I'm just scrolling through chat right now. Christina, can we watch all the presentations again in replay after today? Yes, you can. I mean, you could go onto the LinkedIn feed and you can watch starting from the beginning after we're done here today. It'll be on YouTube if you want to go through and watch. There'll be one video with all 6 hours, but I'm also going to chunk things out. So if you guys want to get all of the playbacks, let me just put this up on screen. When you registered for the event, if you did register on LinkedIn, if you said, yes, it's okay for the organizer to email you, you'll automatically get an email from me. If you said no, but you were just trying to get into the event and now you're like, oh, I really want to get the playback, then you have to go to my website and give me the opportunity to email you. So I have to get an opt-in, basically, is what I'm saying here. So let me just kind of, sometimes I like the tickers and sometimes I feel like there's too much going on. So let me just put up on screen here. If you go to mellermarketing.com/LIL subscribe, and that stands for LinkedIn Live, by the way. So I try to make it kind of easy. So if you do a little subscribing, I'll give you a little bit of information. And I don't like to send people information if they haven't requested it. But if you do want to get the playbacks, especially, I mean, Libby have given us so much great information here. You might want to process it and, digest it, watch it all over again. And that's a good way of doing that. So if you go to that web address, opt in, we'll send you the information with the playbacks, with Libby's free resources as well. And, definitely something that I would do if I were you guys watching here this morning. So we're here sharing tips with job seekers who are in career transition and also folks who may be working but looking and thinking about a change. And I'm seeing some comments coming in. This is really a reflective session, isn't it, Libby? Kind of thinking about where we're at right now.
And we don't give ourselves time to do that. We think, I should know this. So you feel bad about wanting a change. Don't feel bad. You want what you want, and this is your time to step into that and really create that for yourself. Mm-hmm. And grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or whatever you drink. It doesn't matter to me. And think through these things and allow yourself that space. If you need to, just sit in your car. That's what I do sometimes to get away from all the kid noises. Go to the grocery store and just hang out there for a little while.
Hang out in the grocery store parking lot. And then when your husband or kids call and text and say, where are you? Just say, oh, the lines are really long and you're in your car like drinking.
Still waiting to check out. Yep.
Yeah. So I see a question coming in from Bill. When he reaches out to connect with you, is it requesting an email address for that, Libby? Do you have that set up that way, or?
It should not be. My address is, or my email is just libby@clearviewcc.org, but I shouldn't have it set to where you need to enter that.
Okay.
So I've not heard that from anybody yet. So
it could be, Bill, if you've gotten too many people saying, I don't know, Bill, sometimes LinkedIn puts you in, like, I don't want to say jail, but they put you in kind of like a holding pattern where if you're sending out too many invitations at once, they want to make sure you're not automated or a bot. So they're going to start to say, for the next couple people, you got to put in their email address first. So Bill, if you're doing that, one thing I like to tell people is when you send out invitations to connect, you always want to include a personal note. So there's an option when you click an invite to connect with someone, it'll either say add a note or send now. So you want to, when you invite Libby to connect, click on add a note and then say something about Libby. You know, tell her that you saw her on today's LinkedIn Live-a-thon. Tell her, you know, something that you learned from today. But if you click on send now and you do that too many times and people start clicking on I don't know this person, I don't know Libby, I don't know Bill, you're going to get flagged up on LinkedIn. So that might be what's happening there. So try that out, Bill. And for a while, if you're kind of in this, it's like a jail limbo kind of a place. If you're getting that, then you may just need to slow down your connection requests, start including more of that personal note, and that should get you out of there. That happened to me once upon a time too. So I know what you're referring to, Bill. And if it's not on Libby's settings, it's probably the user setting. So what I'm going to do now, Libby, is we're getting ready for the next session. And we're actually going to have a bunch of folks joining us on screen. Yes. And we'll do one final question and I'll give you a chance to wrap up. Sure. So our next session is we're going to be talking about, let me pull it up on screen here. It's a little bit of co-piloting, navigating. Here we go here. We're
You're amazing. You're doing all this.
It's kind of like, you know, that guy that used to be like the band player and he was like playing the cymbals here and then the bell was here and then he's jumping on the drum. It's kind of feeling like that to me right now, but it all works out in the wash, so to speak.
And there they are.
Yeah, we've got Kenneth, Mark, and Marty. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well, doing well.
Good. I think this will be our largest on-screen group here today because our next is a panel discussion with these three gentlemen. And we're talking about if you are experience rich, you know, the mature worker and job seeking, what you can be looking for. And I think we're kind of building upon what we've learned, you know, from Pat in the first session, from Libby in the second session, and then continuing to go. So guys, hang out just for a second. I'm going to finish up our conversation with Libby here for today. And I just want to see if there's any final questions I can ask Libby to answer, I should say. And then if not, I will just see if there are, let's see. It's the chat keeps blowing up. So the chat keeps going, guys. If you're on YouTube, on LinkedIn, or on Facebook, you can still add a comment and it pulls from all of those networks. I see that question that was coming in. And I see people are sending you connection requests, Libby, so great to see there.
And in just a second.
Yeah, so I see, you know, Christina saying she does the personal, so great. So I'm not seeing any final questions that are coming in. So Libby, just to give you the floor before we wrap up and move on, any final comments you want to offer out to the group or kind of wrap up before we move on?
Just the thought of you have so many things that you're going to bring to a company, and think about that, create your life intentionally that we talked about before. Be intentional in what you want and don't apologize for it. Know it and go after it. You're going to learn so many strategies today for LinkedIn and resumes and interviewing, all those things. Take what you've learned today and put it into practice this week. Take action. And this time next year, this time next month could look totally different for you, and you will have done it. And that's amazing.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Libby. It was a delight getting to know you. And we kind of just connected through this LinkedIn Live-a-thon event. I mean, I think we may have been following each other or connected before, but we actually had a conversation. So it was a delight getting to learn more about you and your business. And I look forward to including your information in that email that I sent out.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
All right, Libby, take care. And guys, Libby's going to be going, she's going to be leaving the live stream right now, and she's going to be going out into chat.